Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Random Hour. As always, I'm your co-host Devin Moore. Kyle's not with me tonight because we had some contract, not contract, conflict issues. So I tricked somebody else to come on the show.
Hey,
And no, it is not Kyle's. It is not one of Kyle's family members. It's actually somebody we networked through the D&D networking because we'd love to play some D&D around here. Our Kyle likes to quote some D&D, so I'm going to give him the floor real fast before we start going. The floor is all yours.
hey, how are you doing, people? My name's Matthew. I've been playing D&D for since 1988. It's been a couple years. Been doing that since well, I was a late bloomer. I started out when I was 19. So if you can do the math, there's the age there. Um, and I've been doing a lot of, like I said, I've been playing role-playing games for all that time. But recently, within the last couple of years, started delving into TikTok during the COVID pandemic when all the businesses were closed down. My daughter said, "Hey, have you ever heard of TikTok, Dad?" I'm like, "No." About 4 hours later, what just happened? I just time just disappeared, and I started doing little videos with a dragon puppet, and then later on, it evolved into something different. But yeah, I do a lot of weird D&D stuff, and now I taste food as a wizard on TikTok. Goofy stuff.
I got you. So let me ask you. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what got you into D&D?
Well, I've always been interested in fantasy and sci-fi and things like that, and I was in the military at the time, and I was going through my schooling, and some friends of mine who were dorm mates of mine decided they were gathering up some books and getting ready to leave, and I'm like, oh, what are you guys going to do? And they said, we're going to go play some D&D. And I wasn't familiar with the acronym at the time. I said D&D, and they said, oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Now, the household I grew up in was interesting. Very Christian, very conservative Christian, I guess. And when I heard the Dungeons and Dragons name, it brought to mind men in black robes in basements with candlelight, calling forth demons. And at first I'm like, no, I'm not, that's not for me. And one of the guys goes, come on, you can hang out with us, we'll have some fun. I'm like, then there was a part of myself, I'm away from home for the first time. I want to see this freaky stuff. So I thought, okay, I went and hung out with them. We went to this, the guy who they were gaming with actually owned a gaming store in California,
Mm.
and his apartment was above the store. And I went up there, and they had a group of people sitting there with snacks, paper. The guy's like using funny accents, running this game, telling a story. And I'm like, at first I'm disappointed. So where's the black robes? Where's these candles? Where's the demon calling? There's nothing, none of that here. I'm like, and then I started just listening to them. And I realized that the guy who knows the dungeon master is sitting there crafting a story and throwing out different scenarios for his players. And then I watched the reactions of the players, and then they were taking on the roles of these different characters in this story, but they were making the choices. And it was kind of like watching a movie, except yeah, you're in the movie. You're one of the characters, but you make the decision whether or not you're going to go this way or that way. And I'm sitting there watching it, just enthralled by it. And I'm a bit of a nerd anyway at this point, even in that point in my life. And I'm like, okay, so how do you make a character? And this is back in 1988, and I'm like, well, I've been stuck doing it ever since. Although now I've been officially adopted for like the last 20 years as a forever DM because I love telling a good story.
Right. Oh man. So let me ask you this. So listen, as you can tell, I'm baby faced. All right. I'm cursed with a baby face. Kyle can look like Hugh Jackman Wolverine in 2013. Sometimes some Wolverine in 1989 if he really grows it out. But how'd you grow your beard?
I used to be just a goatee man. I was in the military, so I had to be clean shaven during all that time. But when I got out, I started growing. I had grown a little bit of a beard at one point, but then I kind of settled on a goatee for like literally good 15, 20 years. And then COVID hit, and I was at home. The place of business I worked at a resort. They were closed. So I was at home for a few months, and then I just was being lazy, started growing it. And then the next day, then after a few months, they said, hey, we're going to get back to work. Everybody come back to work. And I come back in, and my boss looks at it. Are you going to keep that? And her disdain, her disdain for, are you going to keep that? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep that. And then so I just been growing it. And then like, take it to a barber and let them do the work because my hands don't do so well. It's the fine tuning thing.
Right. Oh Lord, I know. The only thing I mean, I just recently shaved. The only thing I can grow is the rough little, like you said, like rough little goatee. And I'm like, it's a running joke off camera and on camera. So one of these days I'm gonna grow like a thick goatee and look like um 2002 Undertaker from WWE,
I
motorcycle
was
and
thinking you're
all. I'm
trying to
ready.
go for the shaggy look, down along
Uh,
just to end the chin hair.
uh,
Zoid
that's
show.
that's what I'm getting, man. I don't know. Maybe by the time I reach my 30s, maybe I'll have some luck. But right now, in my 20s, I still look like a baby face.
Well, if I didn't have
Uh,
all this hair here, I definitely would probably be following suit with a babyface look. Just maybe an elderly babyface. I don't know.
so speaking of D&D, what are some memorable moments with past characters that you can think of?
Oh my goodness. That takes a lot. I had my very first character. I guess I could bring up that I played a halfling. His name's Bippin Bopalong, and I kind of gave him a quirk, is that he was the group's cook. So any place we went that would even remotely have a kitchen as part of it, in a dungeon or an old manor, I'd always break away from the group and end up trying to ransack that, trying to find utensils or. And it's just kind of one of those weird. Sometimes I like to do that with characters. Is if you could have put like a weird personality quirk to it, it just makes the character more fun. And we all have those kind of quirks. In their day-to-day lives, everybody's got their own unique thing that they like.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of like try to delve that and put a little bit of myself into my characters. Um, I also did LARPing for about 15 years, so that's kind of an extension of the D&D. Instead of tabletop, you're outside, hitting each other with plumbing supplies. I mean, foam-based weapons. Um,
Let me ask you this then. Do you have any LARP experience in? I see LARPing I get because when I was a kid, which I don't know if Civil War reenactments are part of LARPing. I say it is. But it's like growing up, we used
I
to go to
would
a lot of
see.
Civil. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
See that I follow. Do you have any LARPing stories you like to share? Just to.
Oh goodness. Well, yeah. I used to run a chapter LARP in my local area. I did that for about a decade. I was part of an organization called the Alliance LARP, um,
Hmm.
where there's chapters all over the country. But I've been away from that for a few years now. It's like kind of moved on to other things. But um, running around playing the characters, like you got people. The game itself is set up kind of like D&D, where you have people who are playing the NPCs, all the bad guys and all the monsters, and people are playing the characters. Well, we did this one event where we were dressed up kind of with skeleton-looking tabards on and silver face paint on to represent something we were calling the spirit-driven golems. They were really, really powerful characters, fairly powerful characters, meant kind of for the characters who were higher level in the group. There were also a bunch of smaller level characters in the group. And I was kind of as at night, we're running around just kind of having some fun, and I was watching this group of lower level characters. Every time the big bad guys were walking through town, they would kind of fall back to their cabin. And I kind of watched them do that. They were kind of very militaristic, very regimented, get everybody, okay, everybody. They all kind of single filed it into their cabin. But I noticed that their group's tabard, they were a guild, and they all had the same tabard, and the tabard had a skull on the front, which was black, and it kind of reminded me of the tabards we were using for these big bad guys. It's like, I'm wondering if I could just. Well, I kind of walked up on him as one of the bad guys was running from behind him. They all kind of backtracked to the cabin. They all started marching into this cabin, and I kind of matched their gait. I kind of got in line with them. Nobody was paying attention to me. They didn't realize I wasn't one of their members, and walked into the cabin with them. And then I got to the opposite side of the cabin. Everybody's staring at the door where everybody else is coming in. I'm just standing there. And then finally someone notices and looks over and is like, what the hell is that? And then because they're so low level, one swing from each of them, I just kind of pop, 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 walk back out. It was just one of those hilarious moments where, like, gotcha.
So you basically you walked in behind a different guild, just hung out there for a second for like a good minute, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you're not one
And
of us."
somebody happens to look behind them and see me standing in their cabin going, what the hell?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh,
Another time there was this, sometimes the coloring of your clothes, especially at night when there's a moonlit night or, a dark, that kind of thing. If you're sitting around a campfire, it does mess with your color vision at night and also your perceptibility around you. These guys were sitting around this campfire. I wasn't trying to sneak up on the campfire. I just happened to be wearing just a dull gray cloak, and I was walking up to go to talk to them. And as soon as I stepped into the circle of light, they all bolted because it's like I stepped out of nowhere. It was just a happenstance of the of the lighting. Just weird
Yeah, like
stuff like that.
I'm just here, man. I'm just here. See, I would have been like, I would have looked around and be like, yeah, man, what the hell? Who's in here that ain't supposed to be in here? Oh wait, it's me. Just play it off. Oh
I
gosh.
was kind of doing those. What are they running away from? Like, me. And I wasn't there as an
Uh,
antagonist at that point. It was just hilarious.
oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, oh Lord. All right, I'm gonna ask you a weird question because Kyle wrote this
Weird away.
question. Well, it's not weird. It's we like to throw a little inside jokes between the two of us. So I'm gonna ask you a
Okay.
serious wizard question. Okay, this is a wizard
All right,
question.
hold
So
on.
think
Let
of
me
your.
put on my wizard persona. There
All
we
right,
are. We're ready for your weird wizard question.
all right. So this is an important question for a wizard. Is the room that you're currently in big enough for a fireball?
No. I can definitely do as well. Okay, it might envelop the entire space, but I would have backflash and it would vaporize me. So no, I'm not casting a fireball in this space. It's not big enough for that.
Okay, noted. Don't worry. The space I'm into is also not big enough for a fireball. Unless it's the.
Actually, I playing D&D, my very first wizard character, I did not know exactly what fireball was,
Uh,
and my character was given a scroll of fireball from his master as I went on to this adventure with these new players. I'm like, this is cool, and it's like, okay, I'm casting fireball at these orcs in this room, and the guy goes, you really doing that? I'm like, yeah. We were in a small, narrow corridor, and it killed us all.
ooh, yeah.
TPK, first session.
You know, it's funny. Like I said, off camera, my wife's recently getting into D&D, and one of the groups she watches on YouTube. It's funny because I was at work and she called me on Facebook Messenger because no cell service in the school building. She just calls me, and I'm thinking I'm sitting there in class. I'm like, oh God, she's calling me. Something crazy must happen. And she goes, baby, they got killed by a Bigfoot monster. And like, she's like, they got killed by a Bigfoot monster. And I said, okay, it's a YouTube channel. Can't they start a new campaign? And then she goes, aha, but what you don't know is that one of the adventurers went down a tunnel to the left and found a chest with a time wizard that made it go like a little item made it go back in time so they can start over. I looked at her and I said, wait, you're calling me in the middle of class to tell me that your favorite group are all dead because of a monster, but they're okay because they can go back in time.
It just didn't matter because we hit the reset button.
Yeah,
Took us back to the save point.
basically, the DM said it. She even showed me the clip. She's like, they went down a tunnel or forest. I'm I'm botching the scene or the chapter or whatever it's called in D&D. They found a chest and it was an amulet to let go back in time for like 5 minutes because you know how D&D is. You're like
Oh yeah.
one turn in D&D time takes like 2 minutes or whatever, right? Doesn't apply to normal time. I say normal time. And I said, wait a minute, you called to tell me that? I was like, why'd you call to tell me that? Cause she's like, because I know you're invested. I said, I'm invested because you're making me be invested.
She's dragging you
Then,
along for the ride.
oh no, there was one point. Like I said, it was, gosh, it was one point they were at a circus, and there was a clown character, and I liked the clown character, and then they killed the clown character. So I'm sitting in our living room yelling, "No, not the clown! I actually like the clown," which is funny because that week I interviewed a guy that's big on the Yu-Gi-Oh community on TikTok as a circus performer. So
Oh.
yeah, go check that out. Cauliflower the Internal Circus. That was fun. But anyway, so I was like big on clowns that week, getting ready to write interview questions. So I was like, no, not the clown character, no. And so she's like, you're invested. I was like, I was only invested for the clowns.
Send
Oh,
in the clowns.
you ain't lying. Oh, ooh, sorry, I went past the question. So you do a snack review on your podcast. I'm not your podcast, Lord. Yeah, on your podcast, on your TikTok
Here's
every once in a
the
while.
TikTok podcast.
Yeah, the TikTok podcast. Um, you do what you call the Monday Munchies. You review a snack.
Yes.
What has been your favorite Monday Munchie so far?
Oh my goodness. It's kind of weird. This the ones that cause me the most pain. I have a hard time picking any of my children. But it's like there was the one where I did the ranch dressing soda
Yep.
because I kind of drug out that I prolonged it because I was talking more and more about it because I actually as me I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to taste this. But the rule is I try everything once, and if my friends or my son who's really big on getting me weird stuff for this show, if they bring it to me, I will try it. Um, One of the hottest things. I said it's kind of weird. It's not my favorite, but it's one of the hottest things I ate was this thing called the Nitro Gummy Bear. It
Ooh.
didn't stay. It didn't stay in my mouth more than a couple seconds, but my mouth burned for so long afterwards.
Really? Did you even eat it, or did you just spit it right out?
No, no, it was literally I got into my mouth and I touched my tongue and I'm like just letting it settle for a second, then suddenly like fireball just went in my mouth, came right back out. Um, some of the sour candies I've done that too, where the sour hits the palate and just suddenly spreads out, comes out and I can't
Yeah.
talk for a while. Um,
It,
I actually, it's kind of weird. Maybe I'm a bit of a masochist. I kind of like those ones because they cause me such strong reactions, and it's great for the camera. But I've always been a foodie. I've always been a foodie. I was in the military for 6 years. I traveled along the Pacific Ocean, and any place I went to, everybody else was looking for bars and that kind of stuff when you pull into port because I was in the Navy. But I wanted to go try food. I wanted to go try the local cuisine. I wanted to know. I wanted to taste stuff. It was just It's always been my thing. I'm a very exploratory eater. And when I got started with the Mundane Munchies, it was due to my fiance's daughter 2 years ago. It was on not Thanksgiving, Halloween. We were out. I was dressed as the wizard,
mhm.
and I had been doing just some TikToks with a dragon puppet at the time. I was just kind of goofing around with TikTok at that time. And got done with trick or treating, went back to her mom's house. We're having sloppy joes and stuff. We're just sitting there talking. I was still in my wizard gear, and she was like, I got an idea. You know those TikToks you make? I'm like, yeah. She's like, what if you kept dressed as the wizard like you are, like you're from the wizarding world, and you come to our world and you try our weird foods and you critique them? I'm like, that sounds like a fun little bit. And she handed me a couple. She had like some Gatorade or something. She tried this. You could do them right now. So we did our very first Mundane Munchies at her mom's house. And I said, well, we can't. She said, we could call it Muggle something. I said, well, we can't use Muggle. That's kind of copyrighted. I don't want to, even though I really like Harry Potter and all that, I didn't want to intrude on that area. So when I was in the LARP, we used to refer to a phrase of freaking out the mundanes. And what that meant was, like, after an event, if we're still dressed up and we end up going to a restaurant afterwards, the funniest thing I ever saw was two people dressed up as dark elves. They had jet black skin, dark, huge elf ears, full armor. We're in a McDonald's, and they're ordering their nuggets. And there's this little old lady and her husband standing next to them. She looks up, and her mouth was just agape. And the guy standing next to her looks down and goes, hey. And then I talked to those two dark elves afterwards and said, yeah, we call that freaking the mundanes. And I'd never heard that phrase before. I said, mundanes? He said, yeah, non-LARPing folk. So I kind of adopted that word. I said, well, we could call it mundane. We use the word mundane because, this mundane. It's the non-magical world. We call it mundane. And she's like, Munchies? And so I love alliteration. So Mundane Munchies was born from that. And I've been doing it for like the last couple of years.
Okay. Oh man, dude. So I'll tell you a fun story. Years ago, when me and Kyle were college roommates, we had a friend from Germany, and she brought us German chocolate. And believe it or not,
Real German chocolate.
yeah, real German chocolate. One of the and I remember to this day because it was weird, and I liked it, but it made Kyle run to the bathroom because he can't really eat chocolate. But he was like, "Oh man, she went home for the summer, came back and brought us some." And she was like, oh, he's like, I didn't want to be rude, but it was a chocolate candy bar, but it was nacho flavored. That was weird.
Huh. That is weird.
And for the
I've
life
eaten
of
some
me,
weird stuff before.
yeah. Oh, there were some other weird ones, but that one to me stuck out the most because it was like a Hershey bar. You're like, okay, it's like a Hershey bar. Excuse me, it was like a Hershey bar, and you bite into it, you're like, it tastes like a nacho chip. Why am I tasting a nacho chip? This is a candy bar. And we've talked about doing the same thing. We talked about just messing with each other on messing on TikTok and trying crazy things. But it's just like, yeah, no, you're not gonna catch me on camera and just go right in there. or one of us eats a bunch of stuff and we got to run to the bathroom.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
happening?
Speaking about
It's
candy bars, my daughter's got me this box. You can get these kits from different countries. But
mhm.
they'd gotten this box of Kit Kats from Asia and all these different
Ooh.
flavors, like weird. There was matcha in there. There was, I mean, there was a hot one in there. I can't remember what. I think it was like a like a red chili one or something like that. And they had all these
Uh,
different flavors. Most of them were good. They were safe. They're the sweet stuff. So I guess that's another reason why I like the Munchies, doing the Monday Munchies so much. Is I'm constantly looking for, and people are constantly finding me weird stuff to try. Um, there's actually an interesting story about trying stuff. My son, when he was little, we had this rule with
mhm.
all my kids. If one of them's eating something, if the younger ones are eating something, you can't say yuck on it because it causes the younger ones not to eat it. It's like, no,
Right.
they think it's yucky, they're not going to eat it. So don't yuck the yum. That's one of our rules. If you yuck the yum, you have to try some. I'm walking through the living room. I never knew this phrase was going to bite me in the butt, but I was walking through the living room. My son's sitting there breaking apart Oreos,
Mhm.
like we tend to do, and we eating the insides and just setting the cookies down. I said, you better eat those cookies afterwards. He's like, I will, Dad. Well, I left, and then I came back, and he had a jar of hot salsa, and he was dipping these Oreo cookies into the hot salsa and eating them. I'm like, before I could think about it, I went, yuck. He's like, Dad, you
Oh
can't yuck the
no.
yum. No, you gotta have some.
No. No.
I'm like,
You,
oh my, why did I say that? But it's a rule, so I ended up having to do it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be,
uh
but it's not something I'd go back for.
yeah, no. Oh.
Don't yuck the yum. That's kind of a phrase my son and my kids, they'll never let me live that down.
God, my question is, where do you get the hot sauce within like time span of a couple of minutes? Or is it just one of
Well,
them things?
I went to my bed. I was doing some laundry or whatever, and he was there for a little while. He went out to the kitchen and grabbed it, and came back out and was going to eat the cookies. And he loved salsa. So,
Uh,
oh, why? But
I
out
mean,
of necessity, sometimes strange combinations are born.
um,
Or I got left over this, I got left over that. I'm going to throw it together and eat it. See what happens.
oh yeah, no, I trust me. Being a very in the coaching world, starting off, and I started my career in college coaching. In the college coaching world, it's you ain't making big money right off the bat. So yeah, a lot of nights
You
eating
magged up.
spam, a lot of nights eating spam, or
Oh yeah. I'm
you know what
actually
I
going to be
mean.
doing a series on spam in the near future. A friend of mine got me a little block of spam and a spam cookbook. So we're going to do like a series where we're making all these different combinations of spam recipes and just and eat that. I mean, I don't mind spam so much, but I don't know if I can. It's going to be a lot of spam.
God, yeah,
We
I
also
mean,
found
I've
some
ate.
weird flavors.
Oh
Weird
yeah,
flavors of spam. They've got like teriyaki. There was one he found that was jalapeno. There's a bacon one. So I'm actually interested in seeing what they taste like.
yeah. I remember that I've had the bacon one once years ago. Because again, God, like I said, in the coaching world, right off the bat, man, that spam's the only thing you can afford. And
Yeah.
growing up down here in the South, my mom used to make was spam and potatoes in a crock
Oh,
pot,
should
not a crock.
cube it up,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
hmm And so we
I don't.
grow up eating spam, potatoes, and a little bit of cheese. But she did the bacon one time, and I said, "Oh, interesting combination." But my brothers, and me, we didn't care for that much. But the bacon one, from what I remember, it's hit or miss.
I
But
figured I'd try it with some eggs, kind of like maybe do a breakfast thing with it,
yeah,
because bacon and eggs.
treat it like an omelet.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, I'd
Or
do
just have
that.
it as a side, like you got your bacon on the side, just have a little spam on the side. That's how I used to when I grew up. Then when we had spam in my mom's house, that's what they'd do. They'd fry up some spam and we'd have it with eggs and breakfast.
See, that must be a culture thing, because down here in the South, we don't really eat spam for breakfast. We usually eat it for like dinner.
Like more of a main course kind of thing.
More depends on what it is. Some people do eat it for a main course. Some treat it as a side. It just depends where you're at.
Okay.
And that's kind of thing. But breakfast, that's interesting. That's interesting. Another thing why I like about coaching is I've met people from like Midwest. West Coast. Even doing this show, man, we've had and this episode ain't out yet. Shout out to Chris Wilson. No, Woodsworth. I'm sorry, voice actor out in England. We were talking about some. He was talking about. He told us one of the English delicacies, which was pretty neat. So it's always very interesting to see how people eat and diet and what their favorite snacks are.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've definitely
Man.
learned a lot about different cultures through some of the snacks I've eaten. Just like just the
Mhm.
different flavor combinations they like.
I'll recommend this. I know it's a far little drive, but have you ever been to the World of Coke down here in Georgia?
No, no, no.
I know it's a long little drive, but the World of Coke, you go to it once, it's worth it. You go more than once, you're like, okay. All the different near the end of the tour, it's this giant like giant open area with all these drinks from around the world. It's pretty neat.
Oh
It's like you
wow.
said. It's basically like you said. You had the box of Kit Kats. They got spicy Coca Cola, sweeter Coca Cola from like all over the world. It's pretty neat. I recommend it.
Oh, definitely. I have to put that down on my list. Hold
Yeah, World of Coke in
on.
Atlanta. What is your go-to Taco Bell order?
Oh, well, my go-to it would be let's see. I love the 5 layer burritos. Oh, actually, bean and beef. Yeah, the rice and bean burrito, but then add beef to it. That's
Ooh,
what I
okay.
love doing. Going cheap on the cheaper menu, but then adding the ground beef to it. I love it.
Ooh, okay.
It's the right combination for me.
Golly, yeah, no. We had Taco Bell 2 days ago. I'm starting to like the Cantina chicken, the new thing on their menu. Have
Oh,
you?
did you do the empanada one?
I have not. No, I haven't.
Oh, the empanada one. I love that one.
Okay.
They just released a Cheez-It. It's like this big
Mm-hmm.
that they're using as the tostita in the crunch wrap. And I just tried that one. I did a video on it a couple days ago, and actually I really liked it. It added a little bit more of a cheesy kind of crunch to it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, we I feel like it's a culture thing down here. I don't know how it is where you're from, but down here, Taco Bell is towards the certain demographic. It's either you're a young college student, you're broke, or or if you're like me in your late 20s and you just like, man, it's like middle of the night. I don't want to cook nothing. I'm gonna go get some cheap $1 tacos, and
Well,
I can't.
Taco Bell's just down the road from my house, so it's kind of like on the way from work if I'm feeling a little. I don't want to cut Taco Bell.
I don't want to cook. Yeah, no, I remember. It's funny when me and Kyle were in college. Cookout. You ever heard of Cookout?
As far as going to do a cookout?
No. So it's a fast food restaurant. So
Oh, it's
like,
okay.
think of Let's see. How can I explain? Let's see. I've lived in the Midwest. I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm trying to think how I can explain Cookout to you from a Midwesterner's perspective. Okay. Think. Do you know about Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
Okay. Think Dairy Queen, but kind of give it like a cookout, like you're going to a cookout kind of deal.
So you'd have like burgers and
Hmm.
dogs.
Burger, hot dogs. So you have what's called the cookout tray, and you can get burger, a big double burger, which is like a double patty burger, quesadillas. I mean, it's just a big
Oh,
combo. That's where the cookout part comes into their franchise. You can get a whole bunch of food for like $5. Cheese curds, like you name it.
oh, gee, I love me some cheese curds.
That's the only way I can think
We have
of
a
it.
place.
Go ahead.
There's a place we have like, around here, Culver's. Have you ever heard of that? They got those down there.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
they do. Only reason I know, like I said, I've coached in the Midwest, so like I know what you're talking about, and they're down here, but it's like they're in weird spots in this state, but they're down here. They're not
Oh,
popular. Like that version of Culver's. I hate to say it, we're big on Dairy Queen down here.
okay. We do have Dairy Queens around here too. But I think every area has those restaurants that are kind of like become their go-to. That's what they want.
Hmm.
Like I was in another area and they had Popeye's chickens everywhere, and I used to really love that Popeye's chicken, and when I moved back to Michigan, it's like, no Popeye's chickens. They just built one in the neighboring town, so I find myself going to be burning some gas in the near future as soon as it opens.
Yeah, no, I remember. I was coaching in Iowa. That's where I was in the Midwest. I was coaching in Iowa when the Popeyes chicken sandwich was created.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, golly, it was chaotic. It was chaotic up there, and I'm sitting there thinking. I called my brothers. I said, "Hey, how chaotic is it back home?" Which it doesn't help that us Southern people like chicken sandwiches. Like Chick-fil-A is a diehard.
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A, they opened up one here in the town that I live in. They opened it about a year ago, and the line is always crazy there. People just going crazy for that chicken sandwich.
Really? See, I had the
Yeah.
opposite experience. I had an opposite experience when I was up in Iowa coaching because, again, like growing up, again, this doesn't help the Southern stereotype. People down here in Georgia love Chick Fil A, and I'd go up there. That Chick Fil A there was like not dead, but it's not as like packed to the, packed out into the streets. I'm like, huh,
Hmm.
this is a culture shock.
They've been going gangbusters here for like the last year. I just I've eaten there a few times, but it's not. I don't know. I might be a bit Popeye chicken prejudiced, I guess, because it's like it's okay. It's like, what do you mean it's okay? This is the awesomest. I don't know. I've had better chicken. People get fist fights over that stuff, I think.
Oh no, no, no doubt. I'm over here like, dude, I get mad about the prices. I'm like, dude, it's just a sandwich, bro. Can you like,
Hmm.
you know how it is. It's like, dude, in my opinion, I don't know if you ever hear of Zaxby's?
Yes, yes.
I think Zaxby's is better.
I've eaten that exactly before. Those are good. That's some good chicken.
Yeah, I think Zaxby's is better in my opinion. And that's like, I'm just like, no, I'll go get Chick-fil-A for breakfast and get me a little coffee. That's it. But in my opinion,
Yeah.
Zaxby's is. And speaking of, I say that now, but watch one day this thing's gonna get big enough. Chick-fil-A's gonna offer us, and they're gonna listen to me talk trash about them and be like, never mind.
You talk trash about the Chick-fil-A.
And we're not signing you. No, I wanted my studio.
Who was
I
that?
just
What is it?
wanted a
Someone told me this
studio.
joke. They wanted to have a chicken truck, like those chicken sandwiches, like
Uh
food truck, and they want to park it in the parking lot at Chick-fil-A on Sundays and call it the side chick
huh. That's a good one.
because they're not open on Sundays.
Uh, it's funny. About 2 Sundays ago, me and my wife, we were running some errands, and we actually saw cars there were managers were doing some stuff, and we saw like 4 or 5 cars, and lights were on at the Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. We said, "Oh Lord, that's the Chick-fil-A finally open on a Sunday." But it was just managers doing
Uh-oh.
stuff.
They're being sinful working on the Lord's Day.
Oh, I'm telling you, um, God, I'm telling you, man, what are they doing?
Don't
Uh,
know. They're breaking their codes.
well, it's funny where we're from. We know the town that the first Chick-fil-A was ever built in. So we've been to that Chick-fil-A and we ate there all the time. It's pretty cool. They have the statue of the founder outside the building. They've got a bench where people take pictures of the statue. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I still would go Zaxby's all the way. I say it.
gotta
My
have
wife,
something with little spice to it. I mean,
you ain't lying. If I'm not thirsty after eating a little chicken sandwich, I don't want it.
hmm.
Uh, I say that now and watch. I just keep trying to network with people, and Chick Fil A's gonna want to sign us, and they're gonna watch this episode.
It's like, what the heck? This guy's bad mouthing us. He thinks we're bland.
Oh, you think we're bland, are you? I think KFC is better.
Oh God. Uh,
uh, let's see. I feel like I've kind of already asked you this question, but Jack, you're okay, buddy. Stop. What is some? Do you remember any? I've kind of asked you that question. Well, I'm gonna ask it anyways because it was on our notes. Um, other than do you have any crazy stories that you've done in a D&D campaign or that you witnessed as a DM master?
oh, crazy stories. Oh, let's see. Well, there's always the using the reset button and time traveling. No, it's already been said by the other place. Um, let's see, crazy stories. Oh goodness. I mean, it's like trying to draw out of a myriad of decades worth of material here. Well, aside from my own faux pas, is that how you say it? Faux pas? I don't know those phrases. My own foibles and causing the entire party to die. Um, let's see, D&D, crazy stuff. Well, I love the fact when it comes to my current group of players. Um, One of the crazy things that I've run into is the ability for players to go off the rail. You got a great this story design and you got this idea of where you want to take the characters and you got the storyline written here, and then the players will throw in their bit and they're doing this and they're going in the wrong direction, but they come up with a better idea than what you wrote. So you decide to go along with that and then rewrite the storyline to kind of follow. Let's see an example of that. I got a guy who's a pirate. Well, he's an ex-pirate, and he plays in our current campaign. And he is, as a player, he's one of my antagonists. He likes to cause mischief with the other players, and one of the other players really got in there and had this design for the ship they were on, had a name for it, and he started renaming everything and just causing animosity between the players. And I don't think it was really that crazy. It's just one of those crazy things that happens all the time with players. You always have that one guy at the table who likes to take your game and off-kilter it, antagonize the other players to the point where he ends up getting, surreptitiously group killed by the players. He just kept causing so much mischief, they decided to murder him in his sleep. And I'm like, what? But they did it in such a way we call it ninja notes, where they hand me little notes. This is what I'm doing, and the other person, this is what he's doing. They coordinated, and then he was killed by some creature that came into the encampment at night because of what the player was doing or the character. He always had the defense of that's what my character's doing. That's just what he does. It's like, well, when characters doing things can have consequences, and I kind of allowed it to happen. And he's like, well, he designed another character right away and kept going with the campaign, but it was just one of those weird moments. Outrageous to a certain extent by all the players, kind of unanimously say we're gonna get the character.
Yeah, I would say so. That's like I said, my wife watches it a lot, and some of the stuff, like, I'll sit there and it's funny. I'll sit in the living room with her and edit or answer emails or think of some show stuff, and some of the stuff they do to each other, it's like, what? Heck, there was one where one became a pimp and one was the hooker. And it got crazy, and I was like, I had told her, I said, hey, rewind it. I missed something. And it's funny that you stuck. It went from 0 to 60 real fast. I was like, I thought they were going on an adventure about friendship and magic. She goes, nope. I said, oh man, you're turning this
Backstabbing little. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. Shout out to Vulcan the Gray and Ray Swiftboat. They were telling us a crazy story where they were sitting in a bar in one of their campaigns, and a guy walked in, and all of a sudden it just starts, shooting fireballs, and they were fighting in a bar, and then they got thrown in the brig, and I was like, you just went in, and I asked them, I said, wait, didn't you just go in to get a drink? They're like, yeah, that's how D&D works. And I'm like,
that's exactly how it works.
And I was like, huh.
There's kind of a trope with D&D where adventures start in the tavern a lot. But it's kind of like it's I guess the way of looking at that trope is just because it's a gathering place for most towns. Most people would have like a little tavern in the middle of town, and people would gather there just to talk about things. And I can see where a lot of stories begin there because of that.
Okay. Next question. Besides D&D and snacks, is there anything else you nerd out about?
Oh goodness, I do love. Currently I love all the Marvel films they've been putting out. I grew up with comic books. My older brother and I, we were big comic book nerds, and to seeing a lot of these stories that I grew up with being thrown on the big screen, I'm like, yes. But yeah, it's just a lot of these movies just can't get enough of them. Not to say that all of them have been winners. Some of the stuff on Disney Plus, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it was okay. I watched the She-Hulk series. It was okay. It was
Really?
fun,
I liked it.
but it really wasn't. I mean, like I said, I liked it too, but there was aspects of it I was like, I don't know. I
Let
wasn't
me.
certain. Moon Knight was another one. I really enjoyed Moon Knight
Okay,
because of
Moon
the
Knight.
psychological play.
Yeah, Moon Knight. See, to me, in my opinion, Kyle's a bigger Moon Knight character than I am. I know the Ultimate Universe version of Moon Knight, but that Moon Knight is a hard character to write for,
Oh yeah,
and
especially when you
I
got the psychological aspects of his character.
I agree with you. Not all of them have been winners, but um, Moon Knight was a good one. It did kind of dragged out a little bit, but I did enjoy it than I thought I would. Let me
Hmm.
ask you this: what
Sure.
what threw you off about She-Hulk? If you don't feel comfortable asking, we can talk about it off camera.
I don't know. No, that's perfectly fine. I think part of it is I understand it's a lower budget thing, but some of it was just the cinematography. It really had nothing to do with the story. There was some quirky, funny parts of the story that I kind of enjoyed, but I kept my visually I kept seeing the outlines of the character, and it really wasn't syncing well with the background. So it was more of a it had nothing to really do with storyline or the character. It was more of the CGI aspect of it. It really didn't. I kept getting distracted by it.
Oh, okay. I never did notice that. The only thing I didn't care about the show, which I thought was far out of left field, was the weird Daredevil and She-Hulk romance. I said, huh.
Yeah, that was a kind of a yeah, exactly, throw it out the left field spot.
Well, like you said, if anybody knows comic books, trust me, I keep up with current stuff. I've got a big, like, Amazing Spider-Man collection. Um, I have two comic book shops in town that I work in right now, and I'm always buying stuff. It's funny. I just bought the reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 255. I'm a big Spider-Man guy. I'm thinking about getting back into Ghost Rider, but right now I have a goal to collect the first 1,000 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Obviously,
Oh wow.
I can't get the original prints. One, I can't
Oh yeah.
afford
No,
it,
that'd be way too expensive.
but I will take the reprints any day of the week for
Yeah.
$4.99. Well, no, it's all. I wish I could. My collection's like it'd be like way up here, and it's a bunch of Spider-Man and Daredevil and things like that.
Yeah, when I went to the military, my parents unfortunately sold off my collection, a nickel piece, to a guy. I'm like, you did what with my collection?
Oh, trust me, I'm actually about to get rid of some. Well, I say I'm gonna get. I'm actually gonna donate some stuff, or I need to donate some stuff. Just some like, I bought them on a kids' book fair in elementary school. Some
Yeah,
Marvel
yeah,
stuff, some Marvel Adventure. The appropriate kits for all ages. And
yeah, yeah.
Lily's in the background. Hey, Lily.
Aw.
And that's one of our mascots. She said she had to pop up real fast and disappear. Um,
I
but
think I'm still here.
yeah. Oh no, I'm surprised you haven't heard Jack barking. I guess my microphone's not picking him up, but he's been having a fit, and she's trying to have a fit, but she'll be okay. You might know this one from the '80s. You ever heard of the superhero team from Marvel called the Defenders?
Yes.
So I have the original last issue of that group,
Oh
but
wow.
because of wear and tear and being a dumb kid, it's not in the best of shape.
Yeah.
I'm shooting myself in the foot every time I look at it. Oh, I'm like, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But I do
Things like that
have,
happen.
and I do have. I mean, it's not worth much, but I think it's pretty cool. It's one of the Adventures of Superman, and this is why I think it's cool because even back in 1982, he has a dream sequence with Wonder Woman where they actually kiss, and
Oh.
I think that's pretty cool that back in the '80s they were already thinking about that, even though now in DC 52 or whatever, or DC canon, they became a thing. But I'm DC 52. It had its moments,
Yeah,
and
Dad.
it had its moments. And I'm actually trying to network with a bunch of writers for Marvel and DC. So I'm just like, you had your moments, and I don't. Again, right now I've actually met. I'm surprised. I don't know if you've seen our episode. Shout out to Steve. Yeah, I think she wants down. Did you? Oh, and he's like, I'm going. I don't know. We're really good friends now with a guy named Steve Ertham who's writing. He's a big horror icon in the comic book
Okay.
world, and we were talking about that and the flow and things like that, the flow of writing structure and things like that. And I'm like, Yeah, I couldn't write a comic book to save my life. I'm good. What I do recommend, if you his current book that he's writing right now is called The Fog. It's off of the horror classic The Fog by John Carpenter.
Oh yeah, I remember that film.
Yeah, he's writing a continuation of it right now. The first 3 issues are out off
Oh,
of um off of not Sentinel Comics. It's right there in front of me. Hold up. Let me tell you the comic brand. Sorry about that. I had him on my desk
that's
and then
okay.
I took him off. He's writing. This is a continuation of the series, The Fog. This is issue number 2. Shout out to Steve Erkstorm. He
Okay.
actually came in. He came on the show with me for a little bit at one point. It's by Siberian Comics. Sumerina. I recommend them. They
Okay.
write a bunch of. They're going off a bunch of horror classic stuff. They've done some. They have. I call the story. It's called Soko. It's about human trafficking, and the guy's kind of like a Punisher character. It's pretty neat.
Okay.
The synopsis I read is pretty neat. I'm actually going to pick it up because I like that realism to it. But it's pretty great. I recommend them and things like that. So if you're into horror classic comics or that movie, they've got a spinoff. It's great.
Nice. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, and it's the weird thing is I don't usually read a bunch of horror comics, and I just picked it up one day and I was like, huh, it's not that bad. In the comic book shop that I did an episode with a comic book shop in the town for our show here, and they're like, hey, you want this guy? I said sure, and we've networked, and now we're like Facebook BFF friends. So it's like, yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. Awesome.
But yeah, so Matthew, that's pretty much all the questions I've got for you. This is pretty much the end of the episode. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug in or say?
Yeah. Just check us out on TikTok. Mundane Munchies. You can find us under Daily Dragon Hemi is the name of the. And my main character is Maxwell, Maximus, Maldavia, more. A lot of M's. If you can't remember it all, just remember the acronym and go,
Okay, I got to remember that. But yeah, guys, as always, this has been the Random Hour. Go check me out on my sports podcast, More Sports. You never know what we're going to do. In fact, since I've got a wizard on the show with me tonight, I actually did an episode on Quidditch from Harry Potter, which it's actually a sport. It's actually a sport. We did.
I do play it, yes.
Yes.
So it's a Muggle version of it, but it's still about the same.
Yeah, it's of the same. So we've done that, and go check out our movie podcast, Popcorn Buckets, where we've talked about, like I said, we've also covered D&D movies on there as well, 3 of them, in fact. And you can follow, and of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Random Incorporate, where you'll see the video version of this interview as well as other interviews that we've done as well. Like I mentioned, Vulcan the Gray and Ren Swiftbow, Stephen Erkstorm, and things like that. And you can follow us on social media. You can follow us on Instagram as Rando Boys and Twitter as Rando Corporate One. And if you want to come watch my cringy TikToks, I'm at Devin Moore Comedy and just watch the cringe and things like that.
Have a magical day, and may all your endeavors fall into play.
All right, until next time, guys. All right, give it one.